Anecdotal evidence. Today I'm going to talk about anecdotal evidence. I have heard over the years people talk about anecdotal evidence. Scientists, philosophers, and other things. Anecdotal evidence, they say, you should not. Anecdotal evidence, just discard it. It's not worth it. I need real scientific studies. Well, no. I believe strongly in anecdotal evidence, and I'll explain why in this video. Anecdotal evidence is the beginning of any scientific study. Anecdotal evidence is the beginning of any advancement. Okay? There are many great inventions or discoveries throughout history where people just notice something. Like, that's interesting. I wonder if I can reproduce that again. And they reproduce it. They go, I wonder if I can reproduce it in a way that I want. Okay. I don't know why it works exactly, but at least I can reproduce it. Well, maybe I can make this into something useful. Yeah. It starts from noticing something. A happenstance of your equipment doing something, something in nature, and it leads to other things. Okay. The microwave was one of those. A guy noticed the microwave energies and what it was doing to his food. You thought, well, heck, maybe I can do something with this. There have been other ones as well, but I don't know this offhand. Anecdotal evidence also leads to discussion and further observation. Because without anecdotal evidence, how's anybody going to know? If nobody reports their anecdotal evidence, then everyone thinks their situation is unusual, even though it may be seen 10,000 times. If nobody talks about it and nobody reports it, well, then you have 10,000 individual cases, which really are a lot of data. And with the internet, you can see this a lot. So, for example, these are some real examples. So, you have a car, and the steering seems to lock at certain times. Like, okay, why is this? It locks for a little bit, and then you get it to unlock. So, well, at least I'm safe. And it keeps happening to you. Well, why does that happen? So you go online and looked at some forums, and you find other people have had the same thing. The same car. It's the same car model. Same car manufacturer, same car model. Approximately the same years. And people start reporting the same thing. And then there's a thread going on of discussion. So first of all, you're not alone. It's not your car only. You see 50 other people have the same issue with their car of the same model. And the discussion continues for weeks. And people start saying, well, I noticed it when, and I noticed it when, and then people start thinking, okay, well, maybe that's true. And then they'll come back and say, yeah, I noticed that too. Now that you mention it, I did notice that correlation. And then it comes down to the fact of I noticed it when it happens most when it's raining. And then people go off and they come back and yeah, after I started driving in the rain, I noticed my steering wheel locked mostly during rain. Okay. And another points out, person said, well, mine seems to do well under 30 miles an hour, but beyond 30 miles an hour and above, it seems to where it locks most. I'm yeah. People started doing their own little studies at home, in their own car while they're driving to work. They come back a couple weeks later and say, yeah, you're right, I noticed the same thing. Well, now you've got data. You've got all these people doing their individual research. You start with their own, has anybody seen this? I've experienced it, has anybody seen it? Anecdotal evidence. To discussion, to ideas. Everyone goes back and does the research. Comes back again, discuss, research. And now, everyone figures out, okay, well, at least we've got to narrow down to, for this particular car, this particular model, which we started with, it happens during the rain only, and only above 30 miles an hour. Okay. There you go. Now we got something to work with. Now we can at least try to diagnose it, and we can take it to the dealer, and we can take it to the manufacturer and let them know, and all those sorts of things. You see how that works? But that would only happen if you shared your anecdotal evidence. Okay? Computer apps are the same way. Computer apps, programs are always malfunctioning, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, why is it doing that? Why did it crash at this time? Why is this program opened for me just fine for the last 5 months, now suddenly it's not opening? And people say, and you go on the thread, and go on the thing, and people say the same thing. Yeah, I noticed that too. We're working just fine. And then someone will say, yeah, they just did an upgrade, and apparently their upgrade is actually worse than the original model, the original program, which is most often the case. So there seems to be nothing you can do about it. Or, you hope for them to fix the upgrade, that issue, or, people find workarounds and discuss the workarounds. Okay? But again, it starts with anecdotal evidence. Now, a lot of people dismiss, well, anecdotal evidence isn't enough. Well, I don't know. I'll look at this thread and I see 600 people who have the same problem with that computer program, and it just started 2 weeks ago. That's not just anecdotal evidence. That's a real phenomenon. Okay? So I can give you more examples as well, but that's kind of the main idea why I believe in anecdotal evidence. Collect your anecdotal evidence. Share your anecdotal evidence, because your anecdotal evidence leads to further discoveries, leads to discussion, leads to shared knowledge, leads to further investigation, whether it's, like I said, your own car and your computer program, or scientific in the laboratory, or crime statistics, or anything else. Okay? So I strongly believe in anecdotal evidence, because that's where things begin. And I'll close out with this reminder that when you get lots of anecdotal evidence, it's no longer just to be dismissed. There are people who say, it's got to be a pure scientific study, otherwise I won't accept it. Like, no. Scientific studies with the official procedure and protocol and all that is good. I agree. But you don't always have that, and you don't always need it. Because if you have 700 people throughout the country with the same experience, that alone should tell you something. Okay? Well, 700 people is not out of the 200 million people. Well, how many people actually own that model car? How many people own that car from that particular year? How many people got on the thread? Okay. Considering that, 700 is a big number. Okay. All right. So, and then some things, there are other things, I don't want to make this video too long, but there are some things I know where literally thousands of people have the same anecdotal experience. Thousands of people, millions of people have had the very same anecdotal experience. Whether it's something to do with a mechanical issue, a computer issue, a sociological issue, an issue with a particular government agency, it's thousands of people have the exact same experience. That's no longer just anecdotal evidence to be dismissed. That means it's a real thing, it really happens, and it's factual. You cannot deny it at that point. Okay? All right. So that's why I believe in anecdotal evidence.